because that which is known of Elohim is manifest among them, for Elohim has manifested it to them. For since the creation of the world, his invisible qualities have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, both his everlasting power and mightiness, for them to be without excuse. Because although they knew Elohim, they did not esteem him as Elohim, nor gave thanks, but became vain in their reasonings, and their undiscerning heart was darkened. Okay, now let's fix this verse. Because a lot of you guys are like, oh, people don't have excuse. Is he talking to people? He's not talking to people. He's talking to a very specific group of people. People that he says they knew Elohim and did not esteem him because of their vain reasonings, and their undiscerning heart was darkened. He's talking to people that should have known better. Not that everybody should have known better. Only those he reveals himself to. He says, so since the creation of the world, okay, his invisible qualities have been clearly seen and being understood from what has been made, both this and that. By who? I don't know. Let's go to John 1, all right? This is not in my notes, so we're just going to go there anyway. In John 1, and in verse, 11, all right? We're talking about Yeshua before he puts on the flesh. He came to his own, and his own did not receive him. But some did. Verse 12, but as many as did receive him, to them he gave authority to become children of Elohim, those believing in his authority. Okay, so in the beginning was the Word was with Elohim, Word was Elohim, and all that came to be through him, it was made by him, etc. Okay? And so all this was seen, and yet a lot of those that he created initially didn't receive him. They rejected him. We see that, that's why we ended up with a flood. But not everybody. We had righteous Noah. And since then, there was always some that would get it, but most rejected. So let's not use this whole, well, in Romans it says that, they have no excuse. Okay, we have to use all scripture. What does that mean? It means that you can't use a verse and not take into account that there are other verses that are related to the situation. So if we say, well, they have no excuse because they look outside and see the sun and the moon, the stars, and all so God exists. Okay, then where's their excuse? What about the verse that says that none comes unless they're drawn? What about the verse that says that the Father's revealed by the Son? What about all of those he has to reveal verses? You can't take one and then forget the other, okay? So in the context of chapter 2, he's talking about, yes, since creation, there has been these things that were obviously there to those he revealed and said, look, I made all this. How many verses have you read from cover to cover in this book where he talks about his making of everything? Like so many places, he says, I made the heavens and the earth. I placed the stars in their places. I made the mountains and the seas. I made all these things. Where were you when I made all these things, he says. So let's be careful with verse 20. Well, there's no excuse for you guys because, that's not what this is talking about. It's talking about those, it says, although they knew him. Knowing is a relational thing. This is verse 20 is to the people in verse 21. It's not just everybody.